Hi, if you're new, welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. My name is Frances Okeke. Well, if you're a regular visitor to my blog or you visited my website before, I'm sure you must have seen this one called She Fell in Love with Her Rapist. So, yes, my topic for today is She Fell in Love with Her Rapist. Or should I say, understanding why people stay in abusive relationships. So, as usual, I love stories. Chema, not real name. I make up stories to help buttress my points. Is one of the toughest people I know. She's successful, principled, opinionated, and from a happy home. Sometimes, when I visit their family home, okay, sometimes I also use real stories, but I don't use real names, and I twist some things in them. So, anyways, you get the point. Sometimes when I visit their family home when she's there, I marvel at the closeness and love between her parents. Yeah. She's in her early 30s now, as of when I put this down, and I want to be her when I grow up, also I thought. So there's this dude, Nonso, not his real name. I've met him a couple of times at her place. They look good together. He's very successful too. He's in the papers every now and then, won a bunch of awards. I love by everyone that comes across him. He's a natural charmer. Nope, he didn't charm me. I met Chama 2 years ago when she was 30 and she was a virgin. Anyways, one day, a couple of months after our initial meeting, I was in her area and I decided to pay her a surprise visit. I never arrived unannounced at people's houses. I knew she was home. I told her I might come around. So I arrived at her place and it took her a while to open the door. She had a huge shiner on her face. She dragged me in and locked the door fast behind me. She was scared. I asked her what was going on and that's when she opened up. She met Nonsu a year before me via a mutual friend and they got on like a house on fire. It was easy to talk to him. He was such a gentleman. They even had same interests in arts and other things. It felt great to finally meet a guy that understood her and she could be herself with. She told him she was a virgin and he applauded her decision to wait. She thought the universe had finally sent her a great man. She trusted him. Well, she'd been to his place a couple of times and they'd made out some school thing. One night, they got down to heavy foreplay. Before the foreplay, they'd had a discussion where she'd asked him where they were going and also had said he wasn't prepared for a relationship and begged if they could please take things slow. She said fine that she was going to end it since they didn't want the same thing. Anyways, they'd made out before so it was nothing new. She said when they started kissing, she wasn't worried because she felt safe with him. I wasn't the first time making out. And he was like her best friend. Fast forward minutes later, she was on her belly and he was behind her on top. As the next was on top of her. He said he just wanted to lie on top of her, that he wasn't going to go in or anything, that she felt so warm. Then she said she tried to move and realized she couldn't move, like his body held her in place. She was pinned down. She couldn't even move her side. She was fixed. And she was like, and so what's going on? Hope you're not going in. Hope you told me you're not going to. Don't make any mistake and go in. And he was like, no, I'm not going in. I'm just, trust me. That's what he said. 2 seconds didn't pass and she felt him sliding home into her vagina. She said she pushed him off her body with all the strength in her being. She was shocked. She was angry. She raised her voice and he begged her that it was a mistake, that he felt her no was a yes, that he didn't believe she was a virgin. She cried through the night and he held her as she cried, still apologizing. Anyways, years later, They were still where they were, though amidst silence and periods of her keeping away from him. She told me she was in love with him, and he said he loved her too, but they weren't in a relationship, that she couldn't think of getting into a relationship with him, that she just doesn't know what they were. They've still not had sex, aside from the time he forcefully went in and she pushed him off. Every time she tries to leave, he draws her back. Well, he insults her sometimes verbally, calls her a whore, tells her she begs for sex every day, and that he has text messages where she begged for it, and pictures of her, not naked pictures, just pictures of her with him. You know, sometimes he hit her, but still no sex. But he did have sex with other girls. I sat there and took a good look at this beautiful, strong woman. Next time I saw him, I felt like breaking a bottle over his head. Well, since that day till last year, I kept trying to make her see that he had planned to rape her. Yes, you would say he lost control, but why put her in a position where she couldn't move at all? Seconds after she told you she didn't plan on having sex, and you knew she was going to leave because she had ended the relationship, and you knew this was the only opportunity to take it. And come on, who even says no to him? Is all the girls want him, so yeah, there are guys like that. So why? So yeah, I was saying, why go in less than 2 seconds after he had assured her he was not going to? What if she hadn't been able to push him from her belly? Because she was on her belly, he was on her back. What if she hadn't been able to push him off? Well, she still couldn't leave a man that was offering her nothing. He wasn't offering anything. Well, the sugar belly story broke out. I don't know if you've heard about sugar belly. You could Google it. And I sent her Lutana's blog link, and she read and told me it felt like she was reading her own story. Well, there's this other girl I met during my university days. Ralia, not real name, of course. Hers was different. One night, she left her the room door open, and slept off. She always yabbed me for always locking my door like a bank vault. Once I'm in my room, my door is locked. There are people that once they're in their room, they open their doors. I don't open my door. I grew up in a house where every room is always closed, even your bedrooms, everywhere is shut. So yeah, once I'm in my room, I close it. I just don't close it. I lock my door. So she said one night she woke up and felt this dude on top of her. Her room door was locked, as in he had come in, the door was open, he had come and locked the door, and he had his hand clamped over her mouth. He raped her. She wasn't a virgin. It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to differentiate between the two stories. Anyways, dude goes, I'm really sorry. I don't know what came over me. You're really beautiful, and I have strong feelings for you. There was something along those lines, if I remember correctly. Well, that very night, immediately after his profession of love, cultists. If you went to Unibrain, you get the story. As in, you understand what I'm talking about. Especially if you stayed in a Kosudi and the environments. So cultists stormed the hostel, and this dude, I think he's one of the cultists though. This dude protected her. If you ask me to, I believe this guy was one of the cultists. That's how she wouldn't leave this guy alone. I tried talking sense, but she stayed with him until recently. The way she defends this dude, she would have slapped me one day. If you know how many years ago I left university, your eyes would pop at how long she's been with him, and he's still offering her nothing. They're not married or anything of that sort. Anyways, these two stories sound too weird to be real. Who stays friends with or loves their rapists, or someone who has hurt them? Now, champs. The human is bigger, stronger, and easily worked on than most people can comprehend. Even the strongest of people fall prey to their own minds in situations they would never have let themselves stay in. They even advise others against such situations. The situation could be physical, it could be many other forms. Something similar had happened in both ways. The human mind has its own coping and survival mechanism. These two ladies were not visibly vulnerable, nor were they mentally disturbed or weak characters. Their minds had found a way to cope with an event that had jarred it. In Chima's case, that's the first lady, the jarring event was his betrayal of trust and him pushing himself, his penis, into her. Well, let me try and explain. She'd been groomed by him without even knowing it. He'd planted himself in a certain way in her mind. Dependable, trustworthy, best friend, great guy, doing a profession everyone loves. He's a philanthropist, a giver. And then he decided to break her, hence the rape that fortunately and unfortunately didn't proceed as it should. Then immediately he restores himself in her mind by holding her close through the night as she cried. Her mind stayed stuck in the non-so of before that rape night, and she refused to see the truth that she was a victim of rape. Her psychology of being a strong woman and waiting years for the right guy couldn't let her see herself as a victim or as a weak personality, which was why she could stay in contact with him, even think herself in love with him, kiss him, and take all the shit he gave her. And also, there's something I didn't add before that I'm going to add now. The fact of her being Christian and believing when you forgive people, you forget and let them back in. Well, she kept obeying him to get back to where they were before the event of that night. That kind of, have I lost you? Have I lost the best friend I used to have kind of thing. So he groomed her, and after the event, she developed a Stockholm syndrome for and towards her captor, if I could use that. It's all a mind game. In Riley's case, the event had come first. Her mind's equilibrium was broken, and he mended it by an act of mercy. After breaking her, he had protected her. He had even gone on that night as the cultists ransacked the hostel to tell her about his life. He'd added a feeling of familiarity and bonding to his acts of mercy. So her mind went with, he's not a monster really. He's really great. It's just his one act. He couldn't help himself. I was that irresistible. Well, they both couldn't move until they went back to that event and reset their minds and accepted the truth that they were raped. And those two guys were not good guys. Staying in touch with their captors was to keep telling themselves that, see, he's a friend, he likes me, he's a good person, nothing went wrong, I'm not a victim, yada 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 yada. Yep, everything is and can be controlled through the human mind. That's how the media and the government control the people. And that's how some celebrities and other influencers want to control other people too. So, anyways, champs, before you give the masochistic excuse of their women and women's minds are weak, yada yada yada, ever wondered how military persons get captured by an enemy and they turn on their home country and support the cause of that enemy? Please, did you watch that series called Homeland? I mean, the season 1 to be precise. A military man who'd been captured, returns to the US a hero, And we get to see as the series progressed that he now saw the US, his own country, as the enemy. He believed and fought for the cause of those who'd captured and tortured him, even made him kill a fellow military officer that he trained with for years and all that he knew the man's family. He killed the guy. So you could say he was brainwashed. Yep, a Stockholm was done on him. You can tell yourself, it's just a series. Well, where do you think the idea came from? It's happened in real life, not once, not twice, over the course of history, and it's still happening today. Maybe to you, or to me, or to people around us. You know, now you know why people that stay in abusive relationships stay and even defend their partners. The dudes in my two stories, that is the guys in the two stories, have you ever wondered why they stayed in touch with the ladies? Well, it's all a power game to them. The attention they're getting, to have someone whose mind they've turned and placed at their feet, someone who thinks they are great and needs them no matter what they do and say to them, to make sure the ladies stay in line. So it's a rush. And there's nothing like it. That attention, it's like food. So they like it, so they never let them leave. To keep the ladies in check, they never give the ladies much in order to keep them wanting and begging for more. To work on them some more, they can never tell anyone. So they break their victims down, not only by physical events, but sometimes with emotional and verbal events. And by events, I mean abuse and the likes of it. To eat away at the self-esteem, or they put up principles and beliefs of their victims. If you sit down and begin to analyze people and their actions, and why people like you and I do the things that we do, you would marvel at the human mind. The dominators aren't just men, and the victims aren't just women. Both sexes apply. It's a human thing. So the dominators never leave proof behind. They cover their tracks, and the victims in their moments of loving their captors never keep any proof. In the end, when the victim realizes what has happened to them, there is no proof and they sound stupid. And most times these captors are people with charm, charisma, loved and adored by all. So when this person starts saying this person did this person, and you be like, why did you stay there all that while, blah 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 blah. So anyway, champs, they are sick, twisted, psychotic, psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissists everywhere today. They look normal to the world, successful, well-groomed, beautiful, charming, sophisticated, likable, doing professions that are like, oh my god, such a nice guy, such a nice lady. But when they let their guard down and you really see them in an intimate, no walls up way, you run for cover. And you can only get to see the real them when they feel they have nothing to lose with you. So that's why I don't buy or fawn over popular people and what people of our parents' generation show. Topic for another day. Champs. The most dangerous of people look normal. Not just normal, but they look perfect. So, I watched the whole Sugar Belly saga proceed then. Some people insulted her mom, some called her names, some said it happened because she was 17 and wasn't fully developed. Others said she wanted it. Some, she's a political bulldog. Some have even wondered why she kept going back to him, doing the things she did for him. Some have said it can't be true, that it must be a lie, and she's schizophrenic or some crazy girl, that made it all up. Well, champs, hope this helps you understand a little that her story and that of other people who stayed in abusive relationships and still love those people. It's a very huge possibility. The event she narrated could happen. It has nothing to do with age, it has nothing to do with family background, religion, gender, strength, vulnerability, or naivety. It's your mind. Sometimes, in harsh situations that jar your psyche, your mind finds a way to cope with it. For example, I'm Nigerian. So Nigerians have this attitude when they hear money has been looted by government officials or government takes a decision that isn't favorable. The minds of most Nigerians are in a Stockholm syndrome place. Other countries look at us and wonder, why do they keep letting the same thing happen to them over and over and over? They're like a horse tied to a chair. Well, champs, control or bend a person's mind and you can do anything and make them do anything without them even knowing you're making them do it. So people looking at from the outside, you won't be able to comprehend it. And you have to be responsible for your actions, even if you were the supposed victim. But it's a tiny event. Well, I could go on and on about the human mind and why people stay in abusive relationships and the likes of it, be they male or female. Well, champs, falling in love with your rapist or your abuser, because abuse is not just physical, it could be emotional, it could be, psychological and verbal and so on. So falling in love with your rapists has been proven to happen in some cases. Yeah. So champs, I hope my thoughts on this have been able to help you somewhat, as imperfect as they are. And as always, you're a champ and I love you, but God loves you more. Till next time, my name is Frances Okeke. Bye champs.